So today I'll be continuing with my scheduled discussion and point spread prediction videos. Today I'll be doing SMU. So SMU last year was one of the best non-Power 5 teams, winning 11 games. And now this year they're making the move to what is now called the Power 4. They're joining the ACC. And I think SMU might be good enough to have immediate success in the Power Four. Now, I don't think they're really a possibility to win their conference this year, but they could end up with a pretty good record. And the ACC is very weak, the weakest Power Four conference. So I actually think SMU will already in their first year be better than a lot of these teams in the ACC. Um, and last season, they played Oklahoma, and they played them pretty tough for a while. They did end up losing to them by 17 points, but that's still not a blowout. And Oklahoma was a really good team last year. I'm not really counting the bowl game. I mean, when they had Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, I think then they were a top 12 team. So to not get blown out by them, I think was pretty good uh, because a lot of these teams in the ACC aren't going to be uh, anywhere near what Oklahoma was last year. Uh, Now, last year they did lose to TCU by the same amount as they lost to Oklahoma by, and that was not very good because I know TCU's in the same conference that Oklahoma was in last year, but they weren't very good last year. You would have thought SMU could have played them tougher than that, uh, but they do get on this schedule one game that should, well, for sure be a win, an easy win uh, for SMU. A team called Houston Christian, a team that I've never heard of before, but can tell by the name that it's an FCS team that SMU will have no problem blowing out. And then they start their season in what is called week zero, August 24th, on the road at Nevada. So this could be pretty close to a for sure win, but not 100% sure win. Nevada, they're not FCS, but uh, they're also not Power Four. And if SMU can't beat Nevada, then I will take back what I just said about how I think they could have some success this year in the ACC uh, because they'll have to beat Nevada to beat uh, most of uh, these other teams on their schedule. Uh, and then they have BYU and TCU as their four opponents in uh, the non-conference. So they've got two. That's kind of rare. You usually don't play more than one Power Four opponent in the non-conference. So the BYU game will be on a Friday. Probably will be a night game, and it's at home, so that's good. Uh, I think SMU will have a real good chance to win this one. If it was played now, I would probably pick SMU. BYU last season made their move to the Power Five, and it didn't go very well. They were not very good. Uh, and uh, BYU was an independent before uh, last season, but they weren't on the Power Five level like Notre Dame is. And then they get a week off before TCU at home. I would give SMU a chance in this one, but it's one that seems like it would be a likely loss. TCU, I think, will be better this year, and they were still good enough to beat them last year, even when they were bad. Mm, but I don't think TCU is going to be great. So it's very winnable for SMU. Uh, and then uh, they play Florida State to start their conference games. And this isn't a nice start. I know it's at home, but Florida State looks like they're probably still the best team in the ACC. I could change my mind though before I do that real predictions. But this looks to me right now like a very likely loss for SMU. Now, if Florida State plays like they did in their bowl game last year, then SMU will win. But if they play like they did for most of last season or close to it, then SMU doesn't have that much of a chance. And then they play on the road at Louisville. That's a tough two in a row there. Louisville, is the other team that played for the ACC championship last year, and it's on the road. Not that good of a chance for SMU to win, I don't think, but they will have a chance. I think it's not like it would be so shocking if they were to beat Louisville. Mm, but Louisville is probably one of the at least top five teams in the ACC this year. Uh, mm, and they play three road games in a row there, mm, which that is very rare and not something good about a schedule. But there is some good things about this. They do get a week off in between the first two road games there in a row. Um, and more good news is that the last two there after the week off are Stanford and Duke, which are two terrible teams mm, that SMU should be able to beat even on the road. Uh, Neither team has a very good home field advantage. Now, I know Duke was decent last year, but I think they're going to go back to being how they uh, have usually been a pretty bad team, and Stanford was horrible last year, and I expect them to be about the same as they were last season. And then they played Pittsburgh, mm, very winnable. Pittsburgh was awful last year, uh, but still, usually in the past they've been at least a bowl team, so probably will be tough. Mm, and then they take another week off before Boston College at home. I guess that's an okay time to take a week off. Uh, mm, because Boston College, I saw actually beat SMU in a bowl game last season, and Boston College is not very good. So SMU, it's really hard to know how good they'll actually be in the beginning of being in the Power Four because they did lose to Boston College last year, a team that you would have thought uh, that they could have beaten last year. And that is, though, a very winnable game. Mm, and then on the road at Virginia, SMU should be able to win that one even on the road. Virginia is awful like Stanford. Mm, they only won a couple of games each of the last two seasons. Mm, and then California to end the season, another terrible team. Uh, so that you would think would probably be a win for SMU, but it's not close to a for sure win. Mm, and so this schedule isn't bad, really. They do avoid playing Clemson, and they also do avoid NC State, which that's good news. Mm, so now I'll move on to the point spread prediction. So if you want to see more about how I do these point spreads, you can watch my first video of these, Ohio State. I explained the whole thing in that, but uh, mm, games in the green are games where I think SMU will be a blowout favorite, which is 20 or more points, and uh, there's one of those that I see. Houston Christian, and then games in the blue are games where I think they'll be favored to win by double digits, 10 to 19 points, and there's one of those, Nevada, and then games in the purple are games where I think they'll be favored to win by about a touchdown, so that's 6 to 9 points, and there's six of those half the schedule. BYU, Stanford, Pittsburgh, Boston College, Virginia, and California. And then games in the pink are games where I think SMU will be about a field goal favorite, so 1 to 5 points. And there's one of those, Duke. And then games in the gray are games where I think SMU will be about a field goal underdog, so 1 to 5 points. And there's two of those, TCU and Louisville. And then games in the orange are games where I think SMU will be a double digit underdog, but not a blowout underdog. And there's one of those, Florida State. Uh, so Houston Christian, SMU should be favored in that game by 30 something or maybe even 40 points. And then Nevada, that's close to the green. I had thought about putting it in the green, but I decided to put it in the blue because it is a road game. I think maybe SMU will be favored in that one by like 18 or 19 points. Mm, and mm, uh, BYU, that's a tough one. Mm, I could really see it being in the pink, but maybe because it's a home game, that'll be just enough to put it in the purple, and maybe SMU will be about a 6 point favorite in that game. But I would not be shocked at all if uh, it was close to even a toss up. Mm, and Stanford, I think SMU will be favored in that one by probably around 7 points. Mm, and then they'll probably be about a 6 point favorite over Pittsburgh, and uh, probably about six against Boston College and California. Those three would be in the pink if they were road games. And then Virginia, that should be about a 7 point spread, I would think. Uh, and TCU, right now, I think they'll probably be about a 3 point favorite over SMU. Uh, but it could be more depending on how good TCU is. And then Louisville, I think they'll be about a 6 point favorite. Or no, probably about a 5 point favorite over SMU. It would be six or more, I think, if mm, uh, it would be mm, less if it was a home game for SMU. So it would be uh, getting close to a toss up, I think, if it was a home game for SMU. Mm, and Florida State, I think they'll be around a 10 point favorite over SMU. So that will be it with this video, and please subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching, and I'll be back very soon.